Okay, we're now about halfway through the tutorial videos that have been made for CAD here, or tutorial documents. This one is graded manipulation, so we'll be going through a few of the commands that didn't fit into what I would have called lesson manipulation, the moving and copying and so forth. This looks at actually modifying an object, as well as, I suppose, making special kinds of movement and copy. Okay, so you will have needed a prerequisite for this navigation and circle, but the rest of it you can pretty much pick up from wherever. This first panel is talking about the command trim. So trim is a means of shortening a line precisely. I can grab the end of a line if I want, and I can drag it back to somewhere. If I'm using snap, I could drag it to a precise position as well. But if I've got a lot of lines and I'm trimming them against one, particular line, then the trim command is going to be faster than that. So TR is short for trim. And the first thing we're doing is selecting the cutting edge. AutoCAD's telling us down here we want the cutting edge first. So I'm going to use this line as a cutting edge, and I'm going to cut all of these lines here. You can do it faster by saying, like, drag down a green box like that, and you'll click and trim all of those lines, and hit spacebar when you're finished to confirm your trim. So that's the first one there. You can trim, this example is saying we can trim with two cutting edges, so if we want to remove the middle part of these objects, TR for trim. I'm going to select all of these objects to act as my cutting lines, so we can select multiple cutting lines, is basically what we're saying here. And once they've been confirmed as cutting edges, then we can pick out all the middles of those shapes, like so. In this example, we've got we're sort of demonstrating the way that when trimming, you can't always, I suppose, trim in one fluid motion. So you might think I could select all of this area here as a trim, and I could select trim down here, trim down there. Now I did initially select all of these objects. Can I trim this way? Well, no, it's not actually going to let me do that. The first trim worked, but for some reason AutoCAD doesn't like. Oh, I suppose I can do it like that. I can click, but I think it's faster to do this problem because you have to manually click all of these, and it can be a bit of a pain. I think it's faster to say TR for trim. I'll get rid of my verticals, and then I'll start another trim, and I'll get rid of my horizontals. That's just, I think that's faster anyway. Once again, I should turn hints off. I keep forgetting to do that at the start of the panel. This is a bit of an optional puzzle for you. It involves making this sort of shape using the 2-point definition of a circle and trim. I've had a lot of people not know exactly what I meant here, so I'll just sort of show how it's done. Starting with C and 2P, first thing we need to do is make these two circles that are shown there. So we can put, using object snap tracking, rather. You can use one point of a circle as being up there, and the other point down here. Now we could use, I suppose, just another circle. Whoops, another 2-point circle in here, and selecting carefully our cutting edges, we need to get rid of that line and this line. And that's all there is to it, really. But yeah, that's nothing other than trim and circle. Just a bit more practice. Extend is kind of the opposite of trim. So run with the command EX, and it allows us to lengthen a line up to another position. So I've accidentally selected some of those lines there, but it won't matter. I can still extend them over. Also, I must stress that it does extend to exactly the edge of this line. It looks like it's not because I've got this weird blurry thing there, but there's no line there. The line finishes at that point. Just something going on with my graphics at the moment. My computer getting hot? No, it's not too hot. Okay, we can also hold down Shift while trimming and extend, or hold down Shift while extending and we'll trim. So in this case, I think this is talking about Shift extend. So I might extend, I'll select all of these objects here. I'm extending this one first, and then I can Shift extend or trim, holding down Shift at the moment, and it will trim off that end there. I mean, I could even say I'll put that in there. No, I don't want that there. I'll go out this end. No, I don't want that there. Shifting between the two different commands. Again, with practice, rather than having to type tr, making one operation, type ex, make another operation, learning to shift between them can save you a lot of time. This is kind of a bit of a maze, I guess. We're just kind of extending one object into another. It's kind of saying that when you're extending things, and it is often the case that you need to get objects in alignment by using extend multiple times, you just need to do it in the right order. So yeah, just to make the little spiral pattern. There's nothing really too particular about that. The mirror command is also very handy. The more often you can notice opportunities to use mirror, the more times you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches and just a lot of hard work. So mi is the command or the shortcut for mirror. We can select this object. This is like sort of half of a ISO cube, and by selecting 2 points on a mirror line, we could select any 2 points and we would mirror the objects about those 2 points, but particularly if we use the pink center line we're given here, we'll produce a cube. Now, erase source objects is an option you're always given with mirror. Did we want to copy and mirror these objects, or did we want to just move the objects and mirror them? I'm going to say no, I don't want to erase the source objects, so that leaves these source objects there and copies some new ones. In this case, however, I am going to mirror the objects, and yes, I will erase source objects. So you can see in this case we're flipping the text around, which had been written the wrong way. Okay, this is just some practice, some examples of practicing with mirror. So I can grab this edge there and mirror along that line. With midpoint tracking turned on, I can mirror. Oh, I don't even have midpoint on. I've managed to get that there. So here we've got midpoint lines, and using polar tracking as well means that you could just grab a line at any edge and drag it out. You wouldn't need to find the other opposite corner. And in this one we'll need to have polar tracking set to 45 degrees in order to produce that sort of system up there. Come out at 45 degrees, and when you're putting dimension lines in this sort of manner, and dimensioning around a corner like that, what mirroring at 45 degrees does is it means that your dimension lines are the same offset from your baseline, which can aid to the professional look of a document. It makes it seem a lot neater if they're the same spacing vertically as horizontally. Okay, I've got another command here, rotate, which is just entered with RO. Rotate, pretty self-explanatory. What do we need? We need the objects that we're going to rotate, and we need a base point to rotate them around. So we've provided with this, again, pink point that we're rotating around. How many degrees to rotate through? Well, in this case, 45. So I've got, again, snap to 45 is still turned on. I could also snap to the end of that line there, or I could type 45 degrees. But I'll just click for now. Have I written the... yes. So this panel also tells us that in AutoCAD, whenever we're talking about angles, it's always positive anti-clockwise. So if we need to rotate through, this panel asks us to rotate through 21.3 degrees, so not something that we can do with polar tracking. We have to do this with a manual input. But because we want it to go this way, which is clockwise rotation, about that point, it needs to be negative 21.3. And now the sheep is standing up. Gee, those lines are really weird. Must look into that. Anyway, that's all for this panel. So yeah, keep an eye out on YouTube, and I'll see you next time.